All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to go ahead and get kicked off here. If you are in the audience, welcome to the Community Power Accelerator Prize. This is our first informational webinar to talk about round 2 of this exciting prize. We are so excited that you are here today and even more excited to tell you all of the great things about this prize. Carly, next slide. So hi, everyone. My name is Emily Evans. I'm from the National Renewable Energy Lab, and I am joined today by Ali Robbins from the U.S. Department of Energy and the National Community Solar Partnership Program. Also joined today by Carly Ortiz, who will be helping us on the technical side of the house. A few quick housekeeping items before we get started today. There are 2 options for your audio. You can listen through your computer or by telephone. Often if you're having trouble listening via audio on your computer, calling in by telephone usually fixes the problem. If there are any technical difficulties or you're having any trouble with the webinar, go ahead and message the host and panelists for technical support. We'll do everything we can. In the case that we're not able to fix your problem, this webinar is being recorded and we will post it along with the slides on the HeroX website following today's presentation. We will be having a Q&A at the end of today's presentation. If you can do me a favor and put all of your questions in the Q&A box versus the chat, that would really help us to keep track of everyone's questions and get through as many as we can at the end. If you do put them in the chat, we'll do our best to keep an eye on it, but if you can put any questions in the Q&A box, that would really help us out. Next. All right, so today we're going to run through a number of topics to get you oriented to this great program and prize. First, we're going to talk about the National Community Solar Partnership and the Community Power Accelerator overview. Ali's going to walk us through this great program and this great initiative that the NCSP has been running. Then we're going to talk about the Community Power Accelerator Prize overview. And then we'll drill down a little bit deeper into Phase 1 Ready, everything you need to know to be successful in the Phase 1 Ready contest. That is the contest that we're in right now and whose application deadline is October 4th. Then we're going to touch briefly on phases 2 and 3, give you an idea of what to expect in the later phases. If you are interested, we do have the rules and draft rules posted for both of these phases. If you want to take a sneak peek and a preview of what's to come, we're not going to spend a ton of time on it today. And then we'll walk through everything you need to know about how to get started. And finally, we'll wrap up with Q&A. A quick note, the American Made Challenges is proud to host the Community Power Accelerator Prize. The American Made program, we like to talk about it as your fast track to the clean energy revolution. It's a series of prizes that are funded by the U.S. Department of Energy that incentivize innovation and community building through prizes, training, teaming, and mentoring. We are really proud that we've given away over $100 million in cash prizes and support with over 40, this is 40, we're now up over 50 prizes and over 300 network members. If you'd like to learn more about the Community Power Accelerator Prize and other prizes, go ahead and head over to americanmadechallenges.org. And now it's my very great pleasure to introduce Ali Robbins from the U.S. Department of Energy. Ali, over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Emily. And hello, everybody. I'm really excited that you're here joining us today to talk about the prize. I'm Ali Robbins. I'm a contractor supporting the U.S. Department of Energy's National Community Solar Partnership. I'm going to walk you through a little bit about the NCSP and our thinking behind our work. And then we're going to get into some of the nitty-gritty details about what the Community Power Accelerator can do. So to level set with where we are right now with the National Community Solar Partnership, we aim to make community solar more accessible and prevalent in the United States. We want to see 5 million households powered by community solar with over $1 billion in savings by 2025. We did a ton of stakeholder engagement in the last couple of years to help color in this picture for what the National Community Solar Partnership can do and what our prize is trying to accomplish. So if you look at our pathway slide here, we know that when we set a goal, we have to create steps to make sure that we're addressing the challenges and barriers that are going to help us meet that goal. And that's where the pathway to success was created. There are 5 major elements, some of which will be more critical to the Community Power Accelerator, which we'll get to in a minute. But starting with the technical expertise and capacity building. So our technical assistance program is rooted in this. It's a larger effort that aims to build out the community's technical expertise and operational capacity. We heard time and again that people and businesses need this support. Our next is state engagement. So we know that we can't really be successful without state markets. So we're constantly asking ourselves, how can we support community solar success within individual states? Our third element, which is where the Community Power Accelerator comes in, is access to capital. We heard from stakeholders that there is a real fundamental challenge with being able to have readily available funders to provide capital for community solar projects. Now, I'll just say very briefly to customer engagement, this is more from the business acquisition and management side, as well as consumer protections. So how are we ensuring that customers know and trust their products and are having some thoughtfulness behind what products are being offered to subscribers, particularly the most vulnerable subscribers? And last but not least, our education and outreach component. We want to make sure that everybody knows what community solar is, and they're really excited to get the benefits of that. So all of these initiatives are rooted in what we call meaningful benefits. Next slide, please. Awesome. So our 5 meaningful benefits. These are really rooted in the Justice 40 priorities, but they also help us define what community solar is. And we really want community solar to emulate in the United States by what it does. So these projects, portfolios, programs, resources, we all want them to be sort of rooted in these meaningful benefits. So when you're considering applying for this prize that Emily's going to talk more in depth about in a second, we hope that you ask yourself, what kind of bill savings does my project provide for the community? Do these projects provide a reduction in a minimum of 20% of annual electricity bills? And do they provide maybe financial credits for all the residents who are subscribing to a project? We also want to ask ourselves about our reach, particularly to low and moderate income households. Are we going to be at parity with rooftop solar? Is it helping reduce energy burdens, particularly for those at the lower income spectrum? Projects, we hope, will include a minimum of 50% of subscribers to low and moderate income households. We also want to talk a little bit about resilience, and I know this is sort of at the forefront of what community solar is going to look like, but that can either be through microgrids or storage or a combination of both. It's really important that we support the distribution grid level and we can make our grid stronger. So can projects deliver power to households or critical infrastructure during grid outages, drastic weather events, and we ultimately really want to strengthen grid operations. Now, in terms of community ownership, and there are a ton of models, which I won't get into today, but do folks have the opportunity to own community solar facilities and have the opportunity to build wealth? And we really want to make sure that community solar offers those avenues. And of course, last but not least, workforce development. We actually changed this last year to include minority and women-owned businesses. We need new organizations getting into this space who are truly serving local communities. So we want to make sure that we have that lens of entrepreneurship and we're supporting those businesses as well. So you might be asking yourself, like, does my project advance higher wage opportunities and, reduce income disparities? And we also really want to make sure that these projects are baked in with great training programs and that the workforce is reflective of the community. Projects should also potentially build trust and strengthen relationships with businesses that are owned by socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, otherwise known as SETIs. Next slide, please. Now, to get a little bit more granular on why we're all here today, the Community Power Accelerator. We've heard from stakeholders that access to capital is a critical missing piece of the community solar puzzle. So we sought to standardize equitable access to financing. We worked with over 60 lending institutions to understand what those unique challenges might look like for community solar, and to how we can better incorporate those meaningful benefits into real financial projects. So our platform/website acts as a resource to help expand capacity and expertise for community-led programs, and particularly to help provide those who are new to the community solar space with all sorts of different resources. So we back that connection level resource up by expanding capacity and expertise for organizations that are looking to build community solar projects, since at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to be doing the development. So we view these resources as acting in tandem to hopefully cultivate a pipeline of projects that incorporate meaningful benefits that we saw from the earlier slides, and that meet the needs of both financiers and community solar project developers. The reality is we need more community solar projects financed, and the Accelerator will help us get there. So next slide, please. Oh, I love a beautiful rainbow slide. So to give you a flavor of who all the players are on the Community Power Accelerator, you can see it really covers the gamut of who you would want in the room to make a community solar project come to fruition. So obviously lenders, philanthropy, developers, community-based organizations, experts, and folks like myself who are on the National Community Solar Partnership team. So next slide, please. Cool. So to talk about the mechanisms behind the Accelerator, everyone on the Accelerator is coming to the table to agree to infuse projects with those meaningful benefits that we talked about. They connect on our website platform. So for those of you who are new to community solar, you might just be getting started. We've created a checklist and workbook to help accompany projects that are going through the Accelerator. This is really to help those developing projects understand how to walk the talk when it comes to penciling out projects and making sure that they reach all the various different benchmarks that financiers want to see. Our partners at the University of New Hampshire also created the Learning Lab, which I'll get into more depth in another slide, but it really helps shape the education requirements of the Accelerator. It's an amazing virtual live instructor-led course, which provides the soup to nuts on how to get community solar projects to fruition. One of the real benefits of this prize is getting to learn from the cohort of folks that you're going to be in class with. As somebody who was in the last cohort, I can tell you the benefits are very real. So we also created the Philanthropy Ready Guide to offer you tips, suggestions for those who wish to explore different levels of financing options, so particularly via philanthropic givers. There's also our technical assistance programming, which helps bolster knowledge on an individual one-to-one basis. And then, of course, why we're all here, our $10 million in prize funding, which we really hope will show the proof of concept with the Accelerator. So next slide, please. Great. So the online platform, this is all about connection, right? So with the folks who are in the ecosystem of the Community Power Accelerator, this is their landing spot. Here is where you're going to post your projects onto the Accelerator and get matched with potential funders based on your criteria that your project has. Now, if you have not paid attention to anything I have said so far, please tune in, listen up. You do not need to be a prize winner to use the Accelerator. You can go and sign up today on the Accelerator, put your projects that are in development onto the Accelerator, and get connected to a variety of different funders. So again, please, if you hear nothing else in this prize webinar, go ahead today and be putting those projects onto the Accelerator. Those funders are there and ready to meet you. Next slide. Awesome. Now, to circle back to the prize, because this is one of the real big benefits of being part of the prize cohort. So this Learning Lab is going to run from January 25th of 2024 to March 28th of 2024. It is a live instructor-led course that is held virtually It also features some really star-hitting guest lecturers and experts, and it does include homework assignments, so deep breath there. But I guarantee you those homework assignments are going to be pretty mind-blowing, even if you are a very experienced community solar developer. So those weekly live Zoom sessions are going to be held on Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then you can also see on this slide the variety, the whole gamut of different topics that you're going to cover in this learning lab. So if you're totally new to community solar, this learning lab definitely going to teach you some things. Next slide, please. Another major benefit of the prize is our technical assistance programming. Say you have some particularly sticky questions about siting or interconnection or the slope of your land that you're trying to build on. Here's your opportunity to work one-on-one with our team of experts to help you iron out those questions. Those experts will help you with the credit ready checklist and the project profiles as well. Next slide, please. Cool. So again, this is really, think of our credit ready workbook and the project profiles working in tandem, but the workbook itself is a step-by-step how-to guide to make your projects come to fruition. The workbook includes a list of rigorous project program requirements that investors look for when they're trying to figure out if they're going to fund you. So this includes information about your system size, your siting control and zoning, ownership, capital structure, revenues, costs, all those scary financial terms. You're going to get the 101 from this workbook. The teams are going to use this credit ready workbook to then create and refine those digital project profiles that exist on the online platform of the Accelerator. But again, you can go ahead and put your projects on there today. You don't need the credit ready workbook. And I highly encourage you, if you're sitting on this call and you're thinking, man, I got some projects that are ready to go, I'm going to go use the Accelerator today. So I really do like to think of this workbook though as more of like a cheat sheet of sorts. So that way you know what investors are looking for in terms of community solar projects. So next slide, please. All right. So also we know that there are mission-aligned philanthropic givers out there. It's really a totally different universe when you're speaking to their motivations versus traditional private finance. So we've created this resource for you to up your game when you're speaking to philanthropy. This guide is already public, so I'll try and get a link for you all in the chat, but you can use it today if you want to. And next slide, please. Okay. And finally, I really want to thank our partners on the Accelerator. It wouldn't be possible without them. These folks are joining weekly. So this list right here is not exhaustive of all the folks who are currently our capital partners. This is just an inaugural list, but we do have over $5 billion currently committed from private finance to fund projects on the Accelerator. So sorry to make this plug again, but you can start using the Accelerator today and meet these potential financiers. So that's it from me. I hope that was informative. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it back over to Emily Evans so we can really get into the details about what you need to do to apply for the prize. Thanks, Emily.
Thanks, Allie. Really appreciate it. And I dropped a couple links in the chat, Allie, while you were talking. There's a link to the CPA Accelerator online platform. Like Allie said, you don't have to be a part of the prize to participate in the Accelerator. There's also a link to join the NCSP, which is a wonderful resource to get connected within this great community. It's a very passionate community, and we'd love to have you be a part if you're not already. It's also a requirement for prize participation, but you should join anyways. And then the final link I put into the chat is to sign up for the prize, and we're going to talk a whole lot more about it. But just wanted to get it in the chat early so you can be taking a look at it while I am talking. With that, let's go ahead and let's take an overview look of the prize. All right, so what is the Community Accelerator Prize all about? The prize is a $10 million, three-phase prize designed to fast-track the efforts of new, emerging, and expanding solar developers and co-developers to learn, participate in, and get financed for multiple successful community solar projects. So we are looking for you. If you're interested in community solar, if you're new, if you're existing, we want you to be a part of this prize. The prize seeks to increase the number of equitable community solar projects by providing funding, through the project pre-development process. We're going to give you prize funds at every single stage of this competition. We're going to provide you with the tools and resources. Ali just did a great job of walking through all of those. We're going to provide you with training. Again, access to that learning lab is absolutely invaluable. Free consulting. We're going to pair our winners with TA providers to get that kind of nitty gritty in the weeds technical assistance, and also provide coaching. So it's a really great package all around. You get financing, you get cash prizes, and then you also get access to all of these other resources. So as I mentioned, this is a $10 million prize. And this is the largest prize that DOE Solar Energy Technology Office has run to date, which I think speaks volumes about the importance that community solar has on this clean energy revolution. And you all are a part of it. So this table here details the prize amounts for each of the 3 stages of the prize. Phase 1, winners are going to receive $50,000 and the opportunity to participate in phase 2. You must win phase 1 to participate in phase 2. So if you don't apply, you can't win. Phase 2, winners are going to receive $200,000 per winner, and then the opportunity to participate in phase 3. Again, you have to win phase 2 to go on to phase 3. And finally, phase 3 winners will receive $150,000 per winner. Now, the really cool thing about these prize dollar amounts is they are no strings attached. They are for work that you have already completed. So there's no deliverables, there's no milestones. I'm never going to come and ask how you spent the money, which is great. It offers you a lot of flexibility to use however you need to be successful in the prize. Let's see here. The other cool thing that I wanted to mention to you all is that in the first phase, we're going to select 25 teams to progress into phases 2 and 3. Once you are selected as a phase 1 winner, there is no additional down select. As long as you meet the requirements of phases 2 and phases 3, you are guaranteed this funding. So you're not competing with one another once you're selected in phase 1. So a really great opportunity. So this prize is a 3-phase prize. The 3 phases are ready, set, and grow. This current phase, the phase that we're in right now, that runs through October 4th, is the ready phase. And the goal of this phase is to really identify those new or expanding community solar developers and co-developers who have a high potential to develop at least 1 megawatt of equitable community solar projects that include at least 2 of those meaningful benefits apiece. So what we're really looking for in phase 1 is potential. Are you a team? Are you an organization that has the right stuff to be successful? You're going to tell us all about, and we're going to get into all of this, but you're going to tell us about the projects that you want to develop. You're going to tell us about your organization, about the communities you work in. And if we feel like you are the right fit for this program, that's who we're going to select. In phase 2 set, you're going to go through the learning lab. You're going to complete all of those courses and those homework assignments, and make your way through the credit ready workbook. Make sure that your projects are ready to go and has the due diligence to be ready for investment. At the end of phase 2, we're going to ask for a pitch deck as well as your projects to be up on the Accelerator platform. And then in phase 3, competitors are going to seek out financing for those projects using the Accelerator, using other resources at their disposal. And by the end of phase 3, we are asking teams to have their projects fully financed. So the big question is, who can participate? This prize is open to U.S. community solar developers, including new developers and experienced developers who are expanding their community solar operations. The prize is seeking developers who have a desire and ambition to develop and finance a project portfolio of at least 1 megawatt of community solar with meaningful benefits. Single projects are not eligible for this prize. We're looking for a minimum of 2 projects that equal 1 megawatt in size. And finally, this prize is seeking organizations who have the ambition to scale their community solar portfolio beyond the scope of their prize. Yes, our minimum is 1 megawatt, 2 projects to be eligible for consideration under this prize, but we really want to identify those organizations who are going to be able to take everything they learned during the prize, all of the resources, and then go out and really scale their operations. All right, a little bit more detail on who can participate, because it's a really wide swath of organizations. We're looking, again, new community solar developers, intermediaries, nonprofits, community-based organizations, and community-based organizations such as local community health organizations, community action agencies, economic development organizations, multifamily housing providers. I'm not going to read through this whole list, but we received a ton of questions in phase one that asked, hey, I'm a co-developer. I'm not a community solar developer myself. Can I still participate? And the answer is yes, we absolutely want you. But you do need to pair, if you are not a community solar developer or an organization who wants to become a developer yourself, you need to team and pair with a community solar developer if you are a CBO. If you are a co-developer, we really need to have someone who is going to actually be developing these projects. Hopefully that made sense. If not, drop me a question in the Q&A and we will elaborate on this more. All right, and we're offering Power Connector support and teaming to our prize competitors through ADL Ventures. We're very lucky to have ADL Ventures as a partner. They provide a ton of support on a lot of our prizes. They deeply understand how prizes work and what we're looking for. And we are partnering with ADL Ventures to provide both application support to competitors. You can reach out to them, ask questions, ask detailed questions, and also to provide teaming support. So maybe you're a CBO out there or an organization that you're like, well, I'm not a community solar developer, but I have this great real estate portfolio that I want to develop community solar on, or I have this great idea. They're going to help you team with those solar developers to make a really strong submission. The email is here on the slide. We will go ahead and put that in the chat, and then also keep an eye out on HeroX for those notifications about teaming resources once they are posted. All right, so that was the overview of the prize. Let's go ahead and dive a little bit deeper into phase one ready and what you need to know to be successful. So the phase one ready contest is the first of this 3 contest series. It's open right now through October 4th at 5 p.m. Eastern. There is a total of $1,250,000 available in cash awards. That works out to $50,000 per winner, with up to 25 awards expected. The goal of phase one, we talked about this, is to really identify those organizations that have the highest potential of being successful under this program. Competitors may propose to develop and seek financing for more than 2 projects and 1 megawatt of community solar during the course of the prize. So if you are reapplying from our first round of the Accelerator prize, this is a slight change. We asked a little bit more broadly what your plans were to develop community solar. And in this phase, we're really asking you to hone in on what projects are you seeking to develop under the course of the prize. Note, and I'm going to talk about this and reiterate this at least one more time, you can absolutely propose more than 1 megawatt, more than 2 projects if you feel like you have the ability to develop that under the course of the prize. But please note that you will be held accountable for those 2, for the portfolio that you propose. So if you propose a portfolio of 10 megawatts and 30 projects, we're going to hold you accountable to that throughout the entire prize. So keep that in mind. Make sure that what you are proposing is realistic and something that you can accomplish, because we want you to be successful. All right, important logistics. I noted it's open, phase one is open now. The submission deadline is October 4th at 5 p.m. Eastern. That is a hard cutoff. So I would highly encourage you to submit your application well ahead of that 5 p.m. deadline. We are anticipating a winner announcement in December of 2024. Read the rules. Number 1 tip for how to be successful in prizes is to read the rules document. Very, very important. I'm going to show you where to find that on HeroX in just a moment. and then enter your submission. If you don't take your shot, you won't win. So make sure that you submit your submission if you are interested. Again, I'm going to walk through this on HeroX, but you essentially just need to start by clicking on the Solve This Challenge button. Oh, and Kaylee put in the chat here, correction, December 2023, and that is correct. All right, is when we'll make our winner announcement. All right. We're going to switch gears. Carly, just a heads up, I'm going to switch over to HeroX on my screen. If anyone would like to follow along, this QR code is going to take you to the prize page, but that link can also be found in the chat. So give me just one moment as I find the right page. All right, here we are. Real quick before we get into it, this is the HeroX Community Power Accelerator round 2. There is another one that is on HeroX, that is round 1. If it looks like it's midday, it's round 1. That's not the one that you want to be on. The one you want to be at is the one that looks like a sunrise, and that says round 2. So make sure that you are following and applying to round 2 of the prize. So here we are on HeroX. You can think of this as our hub for all things Community Power Accelerator Prize. This is where we're going to post updates, send you reminders, make sure that you're aware of resources, and where you're going to find everything that you need to know about the prize and submit your submission. It is incredibly important. I would encourage each and every one of you to sign up and follow the prize right now as we're talking about it, as you're thinking about it. I don't want you to miss anything. So I am logged in here to my personal account. If you don't have a HeroX account, it's a real easy account to make. You just have to enter in your name and your email address and you are good to go. The first thing you want to do is click on follow, and that's in the top right corner. That's going to make sure that you get all of the updates. So after you click on follow, you can click around this prize page here. You have a summary, which is going to give you a lot of the information that I've been providing you with today. And then also you can check out the timeline, see when other events. We're going to have another informational webinar in September. We are planning to have some teaming events, so those will be posted here as well, and also confirm the submission deadline. Note that this time is going to change depending on where your IP address is at. So I am in Mountain Time, so it shows me 3 p.m., which is still the same as that 5 p.m. deadline. So just a heads up there. Updates, you'll be able to see all of the updates that we've posted, keep informed. There is a form. You are able to post questions, have discussions. We monitor the form. If you have a question, you can go ahead and post it here, or you can certainly email us and we will provide you with an answer. You can see everyone who has signed up. Great job, team, for signing up and following HeroX. I see a few additional people here. Let's see here. Entries, you can't see any entries here, but if you wanted, excuse me for just a moment, you can go over to the old round 1 HeroX page, click on entries, and you'll be able to see everyone who submitted to the first round. And you can check out their summary slide if you want to get an idea of who applied in previous rounds. And then you have resources. This is where we have the official rules document posted, the templates. So we have a summary slide template, a narrative template, and a portfolio narrative template, which is all required for your phase 1 submission. And then FAQ. We'll be posting additional FAQs as we receive questions. We'll post all the questions that we receive here today and anything else that we get emailed so that everyone has the access to the same information, which is really important for us. All right, so that's everything that has to do with the prize on HeroX. Let's say you are ready to go ahead and start your submission. I would highly encourage you to start it as early as possible. You're going to click on the Solve This Challenge button, accept the competitor agreement, and then you're going to have a couple options here. You can create your own team, you can join an existing team, or you can compete individually. Really, all this means is it's just a function of HeroX. So if you want to collaborate on your submission and have others listed on HeroX as being a part of your team, you will want to select either create your own team or join a team. If not, if you are just an individual and you know you're the only one who's going to be on HeroX submitting the application, you are more than welcome to compete individually. And know that you can still compete individually while having a broader team. But just for just to show it, I'll show you what it looks like to create your own team. You'll click on create my own team, and then you can enter in email addresses of people who you want to join your team. And then those folks, they're going to get an email invitation from HeroX, and they'll be able to join your team. You can also, there is a teaming tool within HeroX. It's okay, you're welcome to use it. We will be providing additional teaming resources later on that are a little bit more user-friendly. So I'm gonna go ahead and say, nope, I'm good for now. And then here's my team. And then you'll see that that solve this challenge button has now been broken out into two buttons, begin entry and my team. To begin my entry, I'm going to click on begin entry, and then this is going to take you to the submission page. You'll be able to put a title, short description, and fill out all of this required information. And you will then upload the submission materials, which we're going to walk through in just a moment. You can save and preview, or once you're complete, you can say submit, and you'll get a confirmation that you've submitted. And that is HeroX in a nutshell. Again, highly, highly, highly encourage you to follow the prize right now. I don't want you to miss anything. Take a moment, create your HeroX account, and follow the prize. All right, Carly, back over to the PowerPoint deck. All right, so we've walked through HeroX, got a little bit of a preview of what to submit, but for your phase one ready submission, we're going to ask that you have a cover page, portfolio narrative, a PowerPoint summary slide, evidence of completion of the Introduction to Community Solar course. I'll talk about all of this in more detail. And finally, your narrative, your technical narrative, if you will. So your cover page, really easy peasy. This is just questions within HeroX. We want to know things like, what is your organization name, your organization city and state, and other kind of general demographic information. Then summary slide. This summary slide, you can almost think of it like a handshake with both reviewers who are going to be looking at your submissions as well as the Department of Energy. We're asking that you create a single slide summary PowerPoint that provides an overview of your team and projects. Again, we have a template up on HeroX that you are welcome to use. The portfolio narrative. In the previous iteration of this prize, this was the portfolio questionnaire. We've swapped it to be a narrative. Same information. We're really asking for you to tell us about two different things. One is your past and current portfolio. What have you done to date? What community solar, other community solar projects, or other projects have you helped to develop? Or what projects have your partners helped to develop? If you are a CBO that's partnering with a solar developer. Tell us about the total capacity of the community solar or other projects that you've developed to date. And let us know where those projects are located. Then the second part of this is we want to know about your planned portfolio. And again, this is a little bit more targeted than the last round if you participated. We are asking for specific details around your community solar projects. Again, minimum at least 1 megawatt in size that you are planning to develop under the course of this prize. So that's what are you planning to work on in phase 2 and phase 3. We understand that projects change, things shift, that's totally fine. But tell us what your idea is and where you are in the development process. Again, a really important note, we are absolutely looking for larger portfolios. That's not to say if you're just having the minimum, you won't be selected. Everyone does have an equal chance. But if you are feeling more ambitious or feel like you can be more ambitious with the portfolio that you are proposing, that is great. We want you to do that, but keep in mind that you will be held accountable for developing the size of the portfolio that you propose in phase 1 in phases 2 and 3. So my advice to you would be to be very mindful and realistic about what you are able to develop under the course of the prize. Next, we're asking everyone to complete the Introduction to Community Solar. This is an online course. You can start and finish it whenever you'd like. I would encourage you to sign up for it right now. Get access, make sure that you're set up. It takes about 3 to 4 hours. There's video, reading assignments, a self-assessment, a couple quizzes that we're asking you to take. And really it's just to introduce you to the 5 meaningful benefits, and you have a really good idea of what the rest of the prize is going to entail. If you took this course within the past year, maybe you took it for the last round of this prize, you do not need to retake it, and only one person from each team needs to complete it. But if you would like more people to complete it, it is open and free, and you are more than welcome. Narrative. This is different than your portfolio narrative. This is where we're going to ask you to tell us qualitative information about your team. So we want to know about your organization and team. What is your past experience? Who is on your team? And how would you benefit from participation in this prize? Next, we're going to ask you for the prize portfolio plan and your future plan to scales. So you'll be referencing your portfolio narrative, but you're going to be talking here about what is your long-term vision for scaling this community solar portfolio post prize. Why did you select the projects that you select? Why are they important? And then the final area is underserved and disadvantaged community engagement. What is your plan to work with and serve disadvantaged communities in which you plan to develop your community solar projects? If you applied to round 1 of this prize, this narrative is quite different. We made a lot of changes based on your feedback. We extended the allowable length of this narrative to 3,500 words. We really focused it in and made sure that we were asking very targeted questions. So if you applied to the previous round and you're reapplying, make sure to take another look at your narrative. All right, so how do we score these submissions? We're going to score based on 3 categories, and these directly align to the categories within the narrative, but the entire portfolio, the entire submission will be considered when we're scoring. So category 1 is organization and team. There's 24 points available. Category 2, prize portfolio plan and future plans to scale, 24 points. Category 3, underserved and disadvantaged community engagement, 30 points. So they're in the rules, and we're going to see this in just a moment. There's a set of scoring criteria that's associated with each of these areas. Each of the scoring criteria is scored on a scale of 1 to 6. We will have advisory reviewers who will review submissions and provide input to the U.S. Department of Energy, the Solar Energy Technology Office, CETO. However, CETO is the final judge and will make final selections based on reviewer scores. I should say reviewer scores in addition to program policy factors. So program policy factors, they are additional factors that CETO and the U.S. Department of Energy can factor in when they are looking at submissions. Things include geographic diversity of potential winners. You know, we don't want all 25 winners in California. Maybe we want 5 winners in California and make sure that we have some distributed throughout the country. That certainly comes into discussion. Diversity in project or program type. So thinking about state programs, utility-led programs, third-party developed projects, community-owned projects. There's really no one type of project that we are looking for, as long as it meets the basic requirements, but we want to make sure that we have lots of diversity. Next slide. All right, phases 2 and 3, what to expect. So phase 2, we've talked a little bit more, but phase 2 is going to begin in January 2024, shortly after those phase 1 winners are announced in December. And as and is going to include a $200,000 cash award for completing the requirements of the Learning Lab and the Credit Ready Workbook. Activities that you will be participating in is phase one winners will designate a single individual, only one individual, to participate in and graduate from the Community Power Accelerator Learning Lab. So again, that's that live remote course that's designed to educate developers on community solar in disadvantaged communities. This course is going to run through January 25th through March 28th. So make sure if you're applying that you have someone who is able to attend these courses. In addition, your phase two teams are going to be required to complete the Credit Ready Workbook, list their phase one portfolio of projects on the Accelerator website, create and submit a phase two Hero X submission, which includes an investor pitch deck. And then finally, phase two teams will work directly with technical assistance coaches to advise on the workbook, the checklist, to help prepare for that submission. Phase three is anticipated to begin in July 2024 after the phase two winners are announced. Up to 25 teams will be eligible to receive a $150,000 cash award. Phase three rules are actually currently released for competitor feedback. When I get a moment, I will drop that link in the chat. We would love your feedback on phase three rules. It's out now for feedback. We listen to your feedback and it is incredibly important. So please take a look, tell us what you think, and anything that you think might needs to be modified or changed, we are all ears. Let's see here. To win phase three, we're asking that teams fully engage in the Community Power Accelerator platform and secure investments from investors for their project portfolio. So again, if you propose 5 megawatts in phase one, we're going to ask you to get investment for 5 megawatts by the end of phase three. Again, we know that things change, projects change, and this is all detailed out in the rules, but just know that what you propose in phase one, you're going to be held accountable for in phases 2 and 3. Teams will continue to work with technical assistance coaches to refine their projects, and there'll be a final phase 3 submission due at the end of the phase. All right. So there you have it. That's everything that you really need to know to get started with the prize. Carly, if you could go to the next slide. All right, to recap everything that you need to do. 1, follow the challenge on Hero X, number 1 important. 2, join the National Community Solar Partnership that is required for the application. It's a real easy sign up and it is just a wealth of resources and people out there. So make sure you join. Then read the rules. Make sure you familiarize yourself. Make sure you are addressing all of the things that need to be addressed in your narrative. Sign up for that Introduction to Community Solar course. Get connected with our Power Connector, ADL Ventures, to get additional support, and submit your submission by October 4th, 2023 at 5 p.m. Eastern. If you have any questions, we are here to help you. We are heavily invested in your success. We want you to be successful. Send us an email at solar.prize@nrel.gov and we will get you an answer as soon as possible. Carly, let's leave this slide up with the QR code so that folks can get signed up on Hero X. And I see that Kaylee just dropped the rules link in the chat. Thank you, Carly, for that. All right. Let's go ahead and get to Q&A. We've got about 11 minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and start here at the top. We got a couple kind of quick questions that Allie, if it's okay, I'm just going to go through quickly as possible. Will this presentation be recorded and provided to view after the meeting? Yes, it's going to be provided in the Hero X resources section. Yet another reason to sign up on Hero X, make sure you get alerted when these resources are posted. Next question is how many people from a team can participate in the Learning Lab training course? The Learning Lab training course, the phase 2, the in-person kind of big one, that's only 1 person. And we have talked a lot about the rationale behind 1 person or multiple people. And, the team feels really strongly that it just needs to be 1 really deeply engaged person. If we start sending more people, it gets to be, kind of too much to have those really in-depth and meaningful conversations. So one person, but the intro course, the online course that's required for phase one, as many people as you'd like can take it.
And Emily, can I just jump in here and say, because we had some nuance in that question from folks in the audience, which were that, say I'm a community-based organization, I don't have any experience developing solar, community solar, but I'm working with an experienced developer, like who should I send? We really want this learning lab to be an opportunity for folks that are not, the traditional developer face of what community solar might look like. So if you are a prize, if you're selected to win this prize, we do highly encourage folks who may not have, the greatest, most in-depth knowledge of community solar to join those learning lab courses so that they might deepen their capacity and their knowledge base. But we have teams in round one who absolutely have, are paired with very experienced developers, and they're kind of, have meeting of the mind moments where they have, the folk who's in the learning lab, and then they have their developer sidearm that they kind of bounce ideas off of. But I thought that was a really great question.
That is a great question. Thank you, Allie. Another question, can a university be the lead member of a team while partnering with a community solar developer? And yes, absolutely. We want you. And that is a perfect example of how that partnership could work. Is you are a university, a community-based organization wanting to get into community solar, and partnering with that solar developer partner to kind of lend that technical backstop is a great combination. So yes, absolutely.
And if you don't have that developer partner, we have several options for folks who, particularly working with our ADL partners, you can reach out to them. Their email is in the chat. They can help you sort of suss that out in terms of developer partners. Also, the NCSP in and of itself, to apply for this prize, you got to be a member of the NCSP. There are tons of developers in the NCSP universe that you could potentially partner with.
Amazing. All right. Can more than one person from an entity join the NCSP? Allie, I don't think I'm out of line here, but we want everyone to join the NCSP. So please. All right. Allie, you answered this question in the Q&A, but I'm going to ask it here just to make sure everyone has this information. There is no clear link between the credit ready workbook and the project info requested online on the site. Can you please clarify the use of the workbook and the checklist, and if it is to make our lives easier at the financing stage or part of the requirements for application?
It's definitely to try and make your lives easier. When we had initially created the credit ready checklist, in an impetus of creating the Community Power Accelerator in general, right? Like there's just a language barrier between what financiers are talking about and what people who are developing projects are talking about. So that workbook is supposed to work hand in glove for you to go through that checklist and say, okay, what does this really mean when you're talking about pro forma? How do I even create a pro forma? The workbook is a built out version of what the checklist is supposed to entail. And you're going to go through that in the learning lab as well. So, but great question.
Very good question. We had another question, if we can define single projects. Allie, you responded that any project under 5 megawatts is eligible to submit as part of your portfolio, which is absolutely right. A single project though would be like one project, that maybe one project that's 1 megawatt, like that's something that would be ineligible. We'd be looking for 2 projects, maybe each is 500 kilowatts a piece, maybe, maybe both are 1 megawatts and you're submitting for 2 megawatts. That totally made sense, but they need to be distinct projects. And it feels like I'm defining the thing with the thing. Allie, I don't know if you have a better way of putting that.
No, I think that, we can all do a little bit of basic math here, right? So if you have 2 projects that are 500 kilowatts, you just need to hit that minimum requirement across your portfolio of 1 megawatt. So we're not saying you can have one project that is 1 megawatt. That's not eligible, right? You can have multiple smaller projects that total 1 megawatt and you're good to go. You're eligible.
Perfect. A follow-on question to that is, do the 2 projects need to be in the same community? And the answer is no, absolutely not. They can be, but they do not have to. All right. Another question here is, if your organization wants to become a community solar developer but hasn't yet developed projects, but have some in-house capabilities, would this organization be eligible, or should it team up with a developer? I would say, and Ali, you responded here too, I would say absolutely eligible. Again, and I can't stress this enough, what we're looking for is potential, and how likely is this team going to be successful in the end. So if you have those in-house capabilities for community solar development, you feel like you can tackle this challenge in-house, you certainly do not need to apply or team up with a developer. Really, the teaming with developers is aimed at maybe organizations that don't have this capability in-house, or that are bringing something else to the table. But yes, if you have these capabilities in-house, even if they're a little bit less mature, or you want to develop them, we're looking for you, and I hope you apply. Let's see here. Are solarized houses of worship projects?
Sorry, I just answered it. Yes, yes,
okay.
Absolutely. Think about the whole gamut of who is involved in a community-based organization. I saw one asking about indigenous groups, folks who are on tribal territories. Absolutely. Like, that is whom we include as community-based organizations. So yes, we hope you see yourself in this prize.
Absolutely. All right. I'm going to go ahead and switch. Let's hear. Okay. Another great question. Can you only apply to round 2 if you won round 1? And the answer to that is no. Round 2 is its own brand new prize. As long as you're eligible per the eligibility in the rules, you're an organization, you're based in the US, you didn't win round 1. If you won round 1, you're not eligible for round 2. But other than that, it is completely open, and we hope that you will apply. Let's see here. We provided the link to the Intro to Community Solar course. I do see a note here that perhaps some of the dates have not been updated in that link. We will update that, but the link that's in the chat is the correct link. We received a question about if startups who might have, let's see here, hold on. Here's a question how do you propose that startups who do not have a past and current portfolio, how do they submit a winning application? And, I would say that we want you to look at your development experience, and how are you going to translate that? How is your developing of regular solar projects or wind, or maybe it's another community development projects? We had people in last round who installed Wi-Fi routers within their community, and they were able to translate that into their ability to develop projects. So think about how you can translate previous experience to become community solar developers. And Ali, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, just as a word of encouragement, we initially created this prize, right? So that folks who are very limited in their experience as community solar developers, so they could get all the tools of the trade to learn how to do it. So please don't be discouraged by the fact that you've never created community solar before. That is okay. We still want you to see yourself in this prize.
Absolutely. Another great question is, and we got 1 minute. We are going to wrap this up real quick. If you asked a question and we didn't get to you, Ali, Kaylee did a great job of typing responses directly to folks, but we will post all of the questions and responses, written responses, to that HeroX website. So again, follow the prize on HeroX, and make sure that you get notified when that gets posted. The last question that I will ask is, can a team apply for more than one American-made challenges prizes? And the answer is absolutely yes. If you apply to Buildings Up or Energy Class or maybe Solar Prize proper, you can absolutely still apply for and win this prize as well. So don't feel like you are limited to that. Anywho, it is the top of the hour, so we do have to close down this webinar. We received so many amazing questions. Again, if you have any questions that you didn't get a chance to ask here today, email us at solar.prize@nrel.gov, and we will get you as much information as possible. Again, if we didn't get to your question, we will be following up with responses. Give us about a week or so to get that information out to you. Anyways, thank you so much. Thank you to Allie. You're an amazing co-presenter. Thank you for Carly and Kaylee for your support as well throughout this webinar. And thank you to all of our to all of our attendees and competitors. Thank you so much for joining us. This concludes our webinar.
Thank you. Thanks, Emily. Thanks. Bye.